Welcome to Testimony, a musician story. Heard at testimonystories.com and narrated by myself, Brown Theory, the music lover constantly seeking positive music. Let's get started.
Spend $1,000 on the watch so late, huh? You could blame it on my arrogance. Take $100 to burn in my fireplace. You could blame it on my arrogance. Got my mama saying, boy, did I raise you this way? Huh? Nah, mama, I'm just young and American. Nah, mama, I'm just young and American. You know what? Go ahead, blame it on my arrogance.
Welcome to part 2 of Ruslan's Testimony, a musician story. We will primarily focus on his latest project, Do For One. In the latter part of 2014, Ruslan played the tease game when he announced to his fans that a new project was coming. He did offer an appetizer, though, and didn't leave them completely hanging when he extended the option to get his EP out of it for free.
Wet behind the ears, being led by your fears. I keep playing in the mud, sleeping in the cold, using my shirt to wipe the snot from my nose. I keep digging in the trash, thinking it'll last. Afraid to go home cause I keep living in the past. I keep digging in the trash. I keep thinking it'll last. I keep afraid to go home. I keep living in the past.
Yeah, and the EP was really like, man, I want to give something to hold people over, and I want to make it very exclusive and private. And so, it's only the people who pre-order the album from our store got that EP. And it's also like, they're not throwaway songs. Those songs are really songs that I was really passionate about, that because they have samples in them, that I knew I couldn't get those samples cleared. And so, I was like, man, I got to put these out somehow. And I thought it was a creative way, like, hey, if you pre-order this EP, and the EP will be on the deluxe version of the album, the album will come with a download link and people will be able to hear the EP. And so, yeah, it'll be a lot of the same stuff on the EP and even pushing the boundaries a little further than that as well. I keep opening this can of worms, so the same reward I'm so damn to earn. Damaged goods, famished shit I stand to learn. Some food for thought, some youth had thought that I could stand and turn. I guess I'm just another lame statistic. I've attended all those classes, but somehow I missed it. Yeah, I missed it. Or released it and apply it. I may have become a selfish jerk, but at least I'm not a liar. Living to spin, living for trends, living like I won't be living again. Driven to win, look, I showed up, so why would I give 100%? Losing to win, that don't make sense. I don't know why, I do it again. Not sure how I ended up here, but I wanna find my way home again. But I like sitting in this mud, playing in my filth while I'm wearing gloves, breaking what I've built as I'm standing up above, but I'm hurting down below as I'm hoping it'll budge.
Any project that Ruslan has been associated with is a bit out of the box. So, is Do For One more provocative than his previous works?
I'm taking a lot of risks with the content. I'm taking a lot of risks aesthetically. And I'm not going to operate out of fear and make music, for the Christian rap subgenre. I'm going to make music that's honest to myself and music that's reflective of where I am and what I think people need to hear and how people need to be challenged. And so in that, we want to be very careful and delicate with how we roll out the concept, how we start rolling out some of the songs, because I think we'll end up probably, as we normally do, probably ruffling feathers, giving people something that they're not expecting from us. And we have fun doing it that way too. So yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be exploring, again, different things that you're just not used to people talking about within the context of, whether you're talking Christian rap or rappers who are Christian, things like ambition and drive and struggle, and how do you balance this desire that we all have to be successful and live out our dreams with the reality of, following Jesus and being humble and pursuing Christ. There's a lot of tension there, and there's a lot of tension I think we have as human beings in the dichotomy that we are both, created in an image of God. We're saints because of the blood of Jesus, but we're also human, and we also feel things that may not be right, or think things or say things that may not be right. And I'm just not the type to put on a face and put on a facade. I'm going to give you 100% the real me. I think most people, when they hear it in context, will really appreciate it. But yeah, we're just not operating out of fear. And I think if you look at Four Seasons, if you look at Belief's Red Pills, Black Sugar album, or the Dream Junkie stuff, like there's things that we touch on that I don't really see anybody else who's a Christian artist touching on, and we're going to continue doing that.
Testimony, a musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and listen. A musician's story. Connect with Testimony, a musician story through social media. Find links to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at testimonystories.com. A musician's story. The quote, "Do for one what you can do for 1,000," by Pastor Andy Stanley inspired Ruslan's latest album, Do for One. This is a concept album told from the vantage point of one character, who happens to be a rapper. His story is told in 4 movements: his rise, his conquer, his despair, and his epiphany. There is a narrator throughout the story that weaves the delicate and aggressive content together.
This is the story of a young man who came from nothing, who wanted everything, knowing that he was destined for more, and the only person he could count on was himself. He had to decide between using his ambition for personal gain or creative expression. He chose the latter.
Yeah, so the album is called Do for One, and there's 2 parts to it. Do for One, the first half of the album is really all about doing for self, doing for myself. And it comes from this real raw place of struggle, ambition, hunger, the desire to become successful, the desire to quote unquote make it. And I wrote it as a narrative in the context of an artist similar to myself, but not necessarily written from my vantage point. So not everything is written from a first person point of view. I'm writing from the perspective of this character. And this character starts out just trying to make music and trying to make it. And then in the process, he comes from an element of the streets where he's getting in trouble. He's doing some questionable activities, some illegal activities, but he knows he has this music thing inside of him. And he ends up, wrestling with this balance of, man, I want to do it the right way, but I'm also, I got these affiliations and these ties.
Do for one. Ice cold flowing out of me like an avalanche. Glad I never became you, cause I ain't had a chance. But thank God for them unanswered prayers. Sometimes I wish that he answered theirs. A lot of times he has answered mine, but I only be listening like half the time. My mind, it be drifting. I can feel the world that I'm standing on shifting. I can feel the boo-boo rattle. Please tell me, what is this? Ego growing right before their eyes. Is that the cause or effect? Why I'm mortified? Is that attention what fueled me? Or am I fueled to get more attention? Why I gotta feel this tension? Realize I'm self-made, and like a lot of these other guys who self-played, sign their life away, consistently grinding to find our way. Just cause you stop to sign up don't mean you got the right away.
Again, it's really about just this hunger and this desire to rise above your circumstances and above what people perceive you to be. And it's very braggadocious. It's very aggressive and going, just challenging the status quo of what people perceive to be good hip hop music. And so that I think is going to be a song that'll probably get some people talking and get people, excited.
One of the songs featured in the first movement about the character's rise is entitled Time.
Story of a man who Never knew of everything that I can do. My whole life been feeling like a gamble. This mic is the only thing I know I can handle. I know it. I know I can ramble, but I'm really tryna blow like Commando. But I'm really tryna go for the goal, for the soul, for the road. Let's travel and dismantle these other rappers, these other rappers, these other rappers are feces. In comparison, it's embarrassing. It's like I'm from a whole nother species. Your flow awkward, like real awkward. That weirdo posture, no try offense, no rock sign, no field doctrine. Not well mannered, but real proper. If you don't get it, then it's not for you. But don't go act like it's not the truth. Ain't got time to wait for a time to top it soon. Invest now, watch what the profit do. No insects in my index, only my crew could be better than me. Hit a magnify, so you other guys, I suggest that you get ready to leave. It's about that time. It's about that time. You late, well it's not new. Come and see what we finna do. It's about that time. It's about that time. You late, well it's not new. Did you get it?
Again, it's this narrative of this struggle and this grind.
In the second movement, the character conquers. And in the song Packing Light, Ruslan is joined by fellow Dream Junkies.
This right here, that next level. This right here, the best ever. Dream junkies and the rest asleep. Why would I waste my breath ever? This right here, that okey doke. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord of hosts. Like when Jackson the Suns watched Opie go. Oh, when did he punch Drizzy? No OVO. And they wonder why I'm so bold. For they even move it in up in a chokehold. For they know it, I'ma hit it with the stone cold. It's all Aston, what you don't know. Those who on don't want you to be on. In the street shady, you feel like a peon. So we do it ourselves without any help while it's fire. And that is what we have been on. Put ourselves on, independent, no corporations that are all up in it. No stockholders on my shoulders. Blind guys asking me if I'm focused. We ain't even talking about skill, pound for pound. We kill any rapper at will, but you knew that already. You really get ready to see this machete make you a spaghetti. I'm gone.
Pack it light, whoa, pack it light like for the party. I'm gonna rock and roll. Mardi Gras and hot tamale, call the cops. What for? I've been on that Antioch and people watch. And I got my native tongue and speaker blocks. They ain't got no idea. They ain't got no way, Jose. They don't know why I'm here. He say, go, I say, okay.
Gonna be, I think, a big record. It sounds huge. The beat is huge. It's produced by Anthony Cruz. It's called Packing Light. And it's really coming of this place of like, okay, we're making it. Again, it's the same aggressive nature. It's very, just having fun and braggadocious.
They say you need 10,000 hours to be considered an expert. Well, he did it in only 10. And 9 of them were during his sleep. He's an avalanche in the middle of the desert. Every track he sees, he eats like lobster and shrimp. So fluid with the wordplay, they can't tell whether he's a preacher or a pimp. Even in a room by himself, he's amongst great company. Benny B the Vici. He came, he saw, he conquered. Even when they thought he was conquered. So mystical, even his mama thought he was conjured. Some would say the rise is too fast. But when you packing light, life's baggage is just a package you unpack and move out your path.
Like what you're hearing so far? Check us out at testimonystories.com.
That's testimony stories with an S.com.
Where you can hear content for you and about you. Everyone has a testimony. Everyone has a testimony. And we want to hear yours. Tell us how God has transformed your life. Each month, we will select a person to highlight and interview. Find out more at testimonystories.com.
Testimony.
A musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and
A
listen.
musician's story.
Now back to part 2 of Ruslan's testimony, a musician's story.
Cause I got chains around my neck, luxury's my mission. I got money in the bank, but
no spending limit, but this hole up in my heart, I can't seem to feel it. Can't seem to feel it. Can't seem to feel it. Girl, every week with no commitment, places to stay. My life is a mystery, but no matter how I try, I can't shake this feeling. Can't shake this feeling. Can't shake this feeling. I'm a new age slave.
He ends up, the consistency, the pressure, he finds out he's having a child, and it's just this pressure to make something of himself. And he ends up making it. Musically, he ends up making it, and he takes off, and it's big, and it's huge, and it's successful. And even though he has somewhat of a faith background, as most of us do, 65% of Americans identify as Christians, he has some type of faith background. He ends up really losing himself in the process. He becomes successful, loses who he is, loses his identity, and then despair sets in.
Success was his. Everyone who looked at him thought he had it all, but he knew different. He was surrounded by people but felt completely alone. He had arrived at his destination but felt completely lost. He had checked the box next to every goal on his list but felt unfulfilled. Now that he had everything that he ever valued, he felt that the cost might have been too great.
This is the third movement,
I know I ain't the only one that thinks these thoughts.
his despair.
This something that I could die to. Explain to me why I should try to. Pretending that it all means something that means nothing to me. Hustling as I ride through my own landscape. Fake handshakes, fake friends hate while my own fan waits for me to snap out of it. I'm so immersed in the words of those who hurt me, battling with my own thoughts. What if I imagine my own morality? My whole zone's off, thinking maybe I can focus if my phone's off. Cause I've been so distracted, disconnected from the actions that I believe make me an asset to this life I lead. In a crisis, please, will you pray for me? Cause my faith may flee. What if there was no God?
There was no God.
And then from that despair, the second half of the record is really talking about do for one. Not necessarily do for yourself, but do for one what you would do for 1,000 people. Do for one what you would like to see impacted on the world. But don't be so wrapped up in trying to change the world and trying to be this philanthropist. Start with what's right in front of you. Start with the people that are right in front of you, your close friends, your family, your spouse, if you're married, your kids, and do for one what you would like to see and the change that you would like to see happen on a global world level. Start out locally. And so he has this epiphany that it's not really about building a platform. It's not about being a superstar. It's not about being famous. It's not about just being a musician and an artist and thinking that's the only way to, to be a positive influence, but it's really about touching the people that are right in front of you, speaking to the people that are right in front of you, loving the people that are right in front of you.
A last confession. In an effort to be globally focused, I lost sight of those in front of me. The locally hopeless, my ulterior motives got the best of me. Now here's the rest of me, trying to reach the thousands while ignoring my community. Resentment took root, self-preservation began fueling me. The fool in me thought I had it figured out. Now it's time to live it out. What if I could touch one? What if I could do for one what I would do for thousands? What if I was more present in the moment that's surrounding? Cause the present is where the presence of my God is founded. So I gotta be more present and present this hope. Serve and give when I'm asked to. Doing my part we spoke about. Changing the world one life at a time. If I touch one, you touch one. That's 2 lives on the line. And 2 turns into 4. And 4 turns into 8. And 8 turns into 40. Cause more people relate. And before we have time to slow down and think and just wait, we done touched a couple more thousand by speaking His grace. Not just speaking but breathing and being His hands, so that the love of Jesus could reach the most deviant man. Those far from God could be touched and be in His plan. Cause I was right there and someone reached out when I couldn't stand on my own. Not just a hand out for the hand up. It's not about pity, but really helping somebody.
Obviously, the Do For One title track is very powerful and it's just a moment in the record that I think will really speak to people, and balancing that, like, hey, like I want to make it, I want to be successful, but at the same time, like I gotta be grounded. Like I gotta put God first. I gotta surround myself with community, because sometimes we see success and prosperity as a blessing, but if we're not able to handle success and prosperity, if we're not mature enough, then prosperity and success can turn into a curse. And I know for myself, like having experienced just bits of success and bits of, blessing early on, that I've probably been the biggest jerk when I was successful, that when you're successful, it's really hard to be humble. And so I hope people hear this and extend grace to successful artists that come from a faith background, the Justin Biebers, the Kanyes, these guys that have a faith foundation, but there's this contradiction, and we look at them and we judge them and we say, well, why is this? Well, why is that? And it's like, man, people aren't necessarily equipped to handle that much success, and this album explores that. And so, it's that whole, like, be careful what you wish for thing, be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it. And if you might get it too soon, it may ruin you. Fruit out of season is always more expensive and costly. And yeah, this will be exploring that. So it's like, I'm in my personal life, I think the Lord has showed me that slow and steady wins the race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And whatever it is that you're pursuing, whatever dream it is or passion it is that you have, that we should pursue those things responsibly. We should pursue those things with humility. We should pursue those things in a godly way, and not just, oh man, I just want to get there and make it, because you might get there, make it, and actually realize that it's not what you wanted, that it's kind of overrated.
Everyone has a testimony, and we want to hear yours. Tell us how God has transformed your life. Each month, we will select a person to highlight and interview. Find out more at testimonystories.com.
Testimony.
Download the podcast of Testimony, a Musician Story on iTunes. Find out how at testimonystories.com.
A musician's story. Testimony.
A musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and listen.
A musician's story.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ruslan with the Dream Junkies, and you're listening to Testimony, a musician's story.
Well, I must be in luck. When I least expected it, that's when love struck. And you know that Cuba didn't miss. So it's only right that I do it like this. When I stop to reminisce, not a whole lot to miss about my past life. Last night I almost went and flipped. Fast like flashlights, all I see is blindness. Running so hard to get away from what's behind us. Travel the world and all along you still loving me. Hindsight, I lost sight of what's really in front of me. I got a good thing.
Now that the character has moved into his fourth movement and has had his epiphany, the album is a bit more upbeat and features songs like Good Thing,
which is a track really talking about my marriage and being content in my marriage, like having a good time with my wife. It's real feel good, real upbeat.
Yeah, I got a good thing going on. Yeah, I got a good thing going on.
We just had a son 8 weeks ago, but when I was writing the record, me and my wife didn't know what the sex was. It was a surprise. Like, we were going to find out when he was born what his sex was. And so I wrote a song from the perspective of not knowing what he is, and really writing a song to my future child. And it's real fun, and there's a little, surprise at the end of it. And so those two songs are real, reflective of the do for one concept, like do for my wife what I want to see happen in other people's lives, do for my son what I want to see happen in other people's lives. Because those are the places I can tangibly touch and reach, right? Like, I can't reach everybody through my music the way I can by ministering and leading my own home.
Came home from your baby shower. She downstairs lounging on the couch. Only 40 days left till you arrive, so I'm upstairs trying to get all these songs out. She walks in the studio, I rub on her belly. In typical fashion, you kick back, or perhaps you're trying to give me a high five. Your movement makes my mind explode every time you do that.
The closing song is called Seeing is Believing, which is really just reflecting and finding contentment and joy in any circumstance. and being hungry but not being thirsty. It's kind of like one of the themes on the record is like, be hungry, be ambitious, but don't be a thirst bucket. Like don't be that guy that's it's all about him and he's just trying to come up and he's trying to network. And so Seeing is Believing is the closing track, and it kind of brings the whole thing full circle.
Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Can't believe it when they see me now. Seeing is believing. Can't believe it when they see me now. New day. I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with the mistakes. Done with the abuses. Look back and realize how far I came. I ain't even the same person today. And even though I am a broken vessel out at sea, I still won't sink. Maybe I'm doing better than I think. Scratch that, I got a one-way ticket to a common destination. I stay over my lane, over makes me act abrasive. Cause I ain't moving at the rate I like, but I can't pay for patience, that comes without a price. My ego was deflated like a hot air balloon. It came crashing down in the winter monsoon. I'm on soon, I'm on last, on success and on cash. I could get all of that and still be depressed. Why should I fall back? Lord help me fail forward. Steps been ordered, landed on a tarmac like seeing is believing.
Yeah, there's a lot of dichotomy, and so people will hear stuff, and out of context, it may not make sense. But if you hear the record start to finish, and if you follow along with the narrative and the skits, it'll really make a lot of sense, and I think speak to people on a very deep level on some of these things that, again, we just don't really talk about a lot as Christians. And even in Scripture, there's just some interesting dichotomy. The Scriptures encourage us to plan, and Jesus says, plan out your life. He talks about count the cost, and count the cost and think about what it is you're going to do. And then Jesus also turns around and says, seek first the kingdom of God and all these things will be given to you. Don't worry about tomorrow. So there's this consistent dichotomy. If you look through Proverbs, it's very big on planning and plan, get wise counsel, all these things consistently. And then you look at James, and James says, don't say you're going to go do this and this. Say if it's the Lord's will. Again, it's a dichotomy. There's a tension there. I don't see anybody talking about that. I don't see anybody exploring that. Everything is very idealistic and in this perfect world. And I think even though people are impressed by our strengths and impressed by, man, you're killing it as a husband, and you're such a great husband to your wife, or you're killing it as a Christian because you don't struggle with porn and you really get it in on your devotionals, and man, look how successful you are. Like, I think people are attracted to those things and see those things and like, man, that's cool. But I think people relate deeply to our struggles. They relate deeply to our hurts. They really relate deeply to our failures. And as with all of us, like, we're not afraid to be very vulnerable and transparent about those things. And so for me personally, when I've experienced the most amount of success is when I've oftentimes felt the furthest from God. When I put out Carry On 2 years ago, it was my first solo album, I was doing really well. I caught the momentum that we had off the breaks, and I was able to go travel and do a lot of these shows and make really good money. But in the process, it was like, dag, like, I'm lonely. Like, I'm out here by myself. Belief wasn't with me. We weren't doing the breaks anymore. And it's like, man, this ain't really what I want. Like, I want to make it with my brothers. I want to experience success with people, and I want other people to experience success. I don't want it to just be all about me. And so, hence the concept do for one. If I could do for John what I wish to see happen in every other artist's lives, if I could do for Belief and help him and further along his career, I actually find more fulfillment from serving than I do from let me just serve myself and build this thing for myself.
Shout and spaz out, cause that's how they counting out the last out. I just might, oh yeah, I just might now, I just might, oh yeah, I just might. Same month I met my wife, my best friend died. Big Mike so full of life, pneumonia was a surprise. 20, too young to die, I was too late to say goodbye. On my way to the hospital, hit every damn obstacle. Would've thought that would've taught me about being late, cause just a few weeks ago he was feeling great. And I don't know if it's the best time to go on dates or teens eulogy, believing anything is possible, even when it's not logical, even when the reason for you breathing and not breathing isn't optical. Illusions of control, it's very abusive to my soul, especially trying to figure this out at 19 years old. Almost dropped out of college, I'm glad that I didn't, cause who knows where I would be today had I not listened to the people who had told me life ain't always what it seems. Unable to sleep, these are my insomnia.
Thank you for listening to Testimony, a musician's story. Until next time, I'm Brown, Theory, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.
Spaz out, cause that's how they counting out the last out. I just might. night owl who's repeatedly tried now to become a